meetings, my team told me that we were going to be needing 130,000 ventilators, that we were short hundreds of thousands of ventilators.
Dropping right in on the meeting, Trump's press conference. So it's a good start today.
Unreasonable sums that the federal government just didn't have. And
this is
look at
what it feels like when you're watching.
The states were not prepared.
A rapper.
I knew that every person who needed a ventilator and didn't get one,
you know, so
would die.
He's gonna let everybody know.
And that's what we were told. They would die. I saw in other countries doctors having to make decisions on who got a ventilator and who didn't. And I knew that this would be a defining challenge of the crisis. Those that didn't get ventilators were said only of one alternative, and that was death.
He's so proud of the way he
Would we be able
to
prevent Americans from dying because we couldn't get them ventilators?
Ventilators? What's happening?
What happened to him?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
How do you refresh on Safari?
Oh, up top. Go to the right. Where it says that volume right there. Dang, Safari quitting on us like that or what? Oh, no, not him again. No, it's not. It's definitely not that. Oh, yeah. The internet did what the internet does. Huh. You got to refresh it again. It's the only option we have.
We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. I'm Joshua Phillip, senior investigative reporter with the Epoch Times, and we stand for truth and tradition.
I hate these Epoch Times ads. There's so many.
So we should have anywhere from 150 to 200,000 ventilators. In addition to that, we have 10,000 ventilators right now in the federal stockpile, ready to move. Should we need them? We might not. Should we need them in New York, or New Jersey, or Louisiana, Illinois, or any other state that may need them if we have a surge? I'd like to ask Adam Bowler to come up and just say a few words. He's done a fantastic job, a young man who worked 24 hours a day on handling this situation, and I'd just like to have Adam, wherever he may be, come up and say a few words. Adam, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. At your direction, this country has worked hard over the past few weeks to ramp up ventilator production.
You got to first compliment Trump.
Thousands
That's very
of ventilators
important.
are coming in now, with over 100,000 by the end of June. At the same time, there are over 60,000 ventilators in our hospitals right now that are not in use. Knowing this, and at your direction, we reached out to the American Hospital Association to design a system that allows hospitals to lend ventilators to other hospitals right when they need it. Within the past week alone, 20 top health systems have signed up for this dynamic ventilator reserve, representing over 4,000 ventilators. Not only do we have top academic systems like Cleveland Clinic and Mayo Clinic, but we also have top health systems from New York City, New Orleans, Washington State, and California. Over a week ago, these places would have needed help, but now they are here to help. There's been no American that has needed a ventilator that has not received one. This dynamic virtual reserve, combined with our strategic stockpile, will ensure that this is always the case. I'd like to thank the President for his leadership and directive to focus on public-private partnerships like this one. I'd also like to thank Sam Hazen from HCA, Lloyd Dean from Common Spirit, for leading this effort with the AHA and the Federation of American Hospitals. These have been difficult times. A few weeks ago, the Vice President came into my office and he reminded us of the power of the resilience of the American people and of private companies. We needed it that day, Mr. Vice President. This partnership is another example of Americans helping Americans. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
I'd shake his hand, but I'm not allowed to. Times have changed, haven't they? Thank you very much. You did a fantastic job. We're very proud of you. You and your whole team. Thank you. Today we are taking further
I feel like he
action
just gets
to
off so
maximize
much
our
when somebody
oversupply
compliments
and
it. Like,
available
he's just
ventilators.
so happy.
This afternoon, I
It's
met
like,
with the leaders, the top
Your team
people
is so great.
of many of America's big, powerful, beautiful, and very, very important hospitals and hospital associations who join us today. We had a great meeting, learned a lot, and they've been going through a lot. They've been doing a fantastic job, as everybody here will attest. I'm pleased to announce that my administration is partnering with the hospitals across the country to create an innovative new system called the Dynamic Ventilator Reserve, so that we're going to have tremendous numbers of ventilators that we're able to help our states with at a later date. If there's ever a problem like this, which we hope to God will never happen again. It was 1917, 1918. That's a long time ago. We hope it never happens again. And I'd like to ask Rick Pollock, CEO of American Hospital Association, Sam Hazen, CEO of HCA Healthcare. It's the largest in the United States. Warner Thomas, CEO of Ochsner Health. And if I could, My Hall, are you here from Cleveland Clinic? Somebody? Good. Thank you. Come on up, folks. Please. Thank you. Say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We appreciate the opportunity to work with you and your team on the Dynamic Ventilator Reserve Program. This will provide a really important mechanism for us in serving our patients and communities by ensuring that this vital equipment will be available to critical areas that are in need. As this battle against this disease has affected the country a little bit unevenly, the rates of infection, hospitalization, and ICU use varies from one region to another. In some places with lower infection rates, some ventilators may not be in use, while other areas are potentially stretched beyond their capacity. The database of available ventilators that we are creating will allow us to flex so that we can make sure that available equipment can be shared with those in need. We appreciate the leadership of the health systems that are here today that has stepped forward. And Adam mentioned a few. I don't know if he caught Dr. Fritz Francois from NYU Langone and David Dill, the CEO of LifePoint as well. We appreciate the work of the administration in helping us find innovative solutions to ensure the best care for our patients. We'll continue to work with hospitals and health systems across the country to add to this reserve further. Your team has provided us with important leadership, and we look forward to working with you in making this a success. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, Adam, team. I stand here before you in front of our 285,000 colleagues who provide care to patients every day across the country. One of the guiding principles we had when we went into this COVID-19 battle
I was just showing them that
partnerships
there's a Harvard research that's saying
industry, partnerships with other health
we
systems,
might have to social distance till 2022.
Local and federal. And we're proud to be a part of this private-public sector partnership, and I think it's going to do great good for the community. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's great to have Ochsner Health be part of this program. We certainly have been a recipient, and the state of Louisiana has been a recipient of help getting ventilators to our state and to Ochsner Health. We're currently taking care of about 60% of the COVID patients in New Orleans, and We did see a spike over the past few weeks, but we're starting to get on the other side of that and heading in the right direction. I also want to thank you personally for helping Oxnard Health. A couple weeks ago, we were running short on surgical gowns, and you and your team were able to direct some to New Orleans, which was helpful to us and other hospitals around the New Orleans area. So we're excited to be part of this dynamic ventilator reserve, and we are proud to be part of that and help other communities around the country. Thank you.
Wait, let's see
Thank
one
you,
more.
Mr.
Let's just see
President,
one
for the
more. I want to see
invitation
this
here. On
this
behalf
this
of the
guy look
Cleveland
kind of
Clinic,
funny.
I would just like to offer a slightly different story about the COVID pandemic. In our home state of Ohio, with an early institution of social distancing, our ability to scale up the testing and ramping up the capacity, we have actually seen a stable number of patients over the last 8 to 10 days. Only 160 patients have been hospitalized with COVID infection in Cleveland Clinic Health System. We are also very grateful for the support from our state government as well from our federal government. This is a battle where we're all in together. We coordinate our efforts, share our resources, and work together as one. I'm firmly convinced that we can do a lot of good when we work together. Thank you very much for having us. Thank you, sir.
Oh, wait, this is-
That was a terrific meeting, and thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. The United States has far more ICU beds per capita than any other nation. We have
we should come back when there's the
34.7
Q&A.
ICU
That's when it gets
beds
really
per
fun.
100,000 people, which is the best there is, compared with roughly 12.5 beds per 100,000 in Italy, 11.6 beds.
All right, we are back. April 14th. We can bring him back during Q&A. I can kind of like monitor it here a little bit
Yeah, that'll be good.
and see if he comes in hot at any time. But we're still kind of stuck in the same little phase of where we're at in the world, trying to figure out kind of what's next.
I always like how you could see half my face in this thing. Okay, so keep going.
Well, I think it actually has a little bit to do with the TV that we're watching it off of.
Yeah, that too. That's true.
Yeah. We got Obama in the news today. He is endorsed Biden.
He did. He did.
That kind of feels like one of those things that's just a whoop-de-doo to me a little bit.
That's what I thought too. But I just learned that presidents, former presidents, usually don't endorse until after the party has picked has the main person, which I was surprised about. And but that doesn't make it any less of a whoop-de-doo.
Well, no, I agree with you. When it comes to what Obama's done, a lot of people, like a lot of Republicans, would look at what George Bush was doing when he got out of the White House,
Yeah.
and he went into hiding.
Yeah.
We didn't hear him sit around and criticize Obama while he was done,
Yeah.
and then you also didn't see him interjecting into what was going on in the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would sit around and go, this is what a classic American president is supposed to look like. You're supposed to, serve your term, and you served. Now
Yeah.
you can go on vacation. You don't have to interject into anything. If it's a really, really big thing, dive on in.
You've given your term.
Yeah. So I think Obama's actually been pretty darn presidential.
He's following the presidential playbook.
Exactly,
Yeah.
of like what we would expect the old guys to do,
Yeah, that's true.
even though he's still a young guy.
I mean, I think it's you brought up a great point today, which is Biden is going to treat this more like he's not going to think of this as a quarterback. He's going to think of this more as like he's the head coach or the owner of the team,
Yeah.
and he's going to hire general managers, head coaches, and he's just going to surround himself with people that are going to give him the best chance to win.
Well, that's what I felt yesterday when and a little bit today when people were talking about Bernie Sanders and Biden's interaction,
Yeah.
it felt as if people were saying, this is the last we've heard of Bernie as far as leading this particular fraction of the party. I don't assume that Biden's going to lead that way. I actually think that you're going to hear more of Obama, more of Bernie. I think he's good. I think he realizes that he needs all these individual voices to kind of still be figureheads of the party.
Yeah.
I don't see him really having the characteristics of saying, I need to be the sole leader of this thing. He hasn't really taken the reins ever.
That's true. And I think that with Bernie, one, to go back to Bernie's not going anywhere. He's going to come back. He's going to campaign against Trump just as much as he campaigned against him when he was helping out with Hillary. Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot more of a push to get Biden in office, even more than they even did for Hillary. And that could put him over the top at the end of the day. So we'll see what voter turnout looks like. We'll see if the Bernie people come to the election, Biden wins. If they don't, he doesn't win. That's the difference, actually. He needs everybody to beat Trump.
I mean, just to give a little criticism to the Bernie people, I actually don't think they show it up at the election really anyway. They need the Bernie people beforehand. They need their enthusiasm more than they actually need their vote. They need both.
Yeah.
But you can't just be a Bernie voter that just is like, shit, I'm going to kind of crawl into my hole, but I'm going to show up and vote for Biden that day. But the Democratic Party is going to need every Bernie voter to be just as vocal as they always have been in order to push it over the line.
So the part that I disagree with is that Bernie voters didn't show. I don't think they showed up to a level that some predicted. But remember, Bernie was leading for a while there. He was leading before the rest of the horses got out of the race and got behind Biden. So he was looking like he could have been the nominee for a while. But when it comes to established Democrats led by Biden, when it came time to be established, they established themselves right behind Biden.
Well, and that's why I don't necessarily criticize Bernie voters as totally not showing up. But their bark is louder than their bite, and they've already proven that. And that might not be because they don't show up at the polls. Every single person that's vocal on Facebook, they probably show up at the polls. I think their voice just carries so far in the airways.
I mean, but again, Bernie was leading. Bernie was leading in the polls before the rest of the guys dropped out. Now, if you could have argued that when Trump was in and he was leading, it's because the other guys didn't drop out, that it was too late, that Kasich or anybody else couldn't take it away from him. So it's not like Bernie didn't have a good amount of people on his back. He did. He was leading. So there's a good amount of people, especially for a guy who was not an established Democrat.
Yeah.
For a guy that was an independent, the people that he's bringing in, those people are the ones that decide to take the foam over the top. They're not the established Democrats, but it's no different than like when Trump was, Chappelle actually made a joke when he was, he lives in Ohio, and when he was voting in 2008 for Obama, he saw people who would never vote from, especially in the minority sector, come out and vote for Obama. Fast forward to 2016, he said, I saw farmers and people that you never would have imagined come out. So there's people who always sit on the sidelines that will come out. And the Bernie supporter, there's some, who are so far left, some are in the middle. They're kind of all over the place, but they are staunch Bernie supporters. If they come out to the same level of enthusiasm, or even, 50% of that, he needs that. My argument is that Biden cannot win without the Bernie supporters to put him over the top.
Oh, for
They're not the
sure.
base, but they could put him over the top if they decide to show up. And that's the difference between a win or loss for Biden. Because
And I'm just saying
Trump
they need to-
supporters are going to definitely show up.
they need to be pushing the airways. Their biggest support they can do is really now transition that argument for Biden in a way that can somehow appeal to this millennial group.
Yeah.
And somehow impassion them again to, even if it's just impassioned by rage of Trump, I think that is a valuable way to make sure that everyone gets rolling.
Now, the Bernie supporters that didn't come out and vote for Bernie, that I think that's a waste of time to even think they're going to go vote for Biden. So I wouldn't even say like get those people. It's not like that. I'm saying the people that did go out and actually vote for Bernie, to get them to get out again and vote for Biden. Those are the people you need. You're not going to energize the online Bernie supporters who did not vote for Bernie.
And
That's not a big enough base.
And it's that weird election where it feels like it's a foregone conclusion that Trump's already won this. It's kind of the reverse this time around as it was to last time.
Yeah,
Where it's like, oh, Clinton had it in the bag. Trump doesn't have a chance. Boom, wake up the next day. Trump's in the office. What the heck happened? Not as overly surprising if Biden wins, but I would still say pretty darn surprising. Today.
Yeah,
That could
we'll
change
see.
in the next few months.
Yeah, I mean, the horse races, Trump's voter base is strong and loud. And it's louder than Biden's base. That is true. That is true.
They're quiet on Facebook, though.
Who?
Trump's voter base.
Probably.
They're
Yeah.
like so much quieter on Facebook than you would assume.
So there is a lot. So true. There's a lot of Trump closeted supporters.
Oh my gosh, dude. To every one Facebook promotional post of Trump, there's 1,000 people backing that.
Yeah.
And to every 5 people that repost a Bernie thing, there's only like 2 people that vote.
I know that there is a lot of public criticism against Trump, and I would say that all of it is actually warranted. That being said, I know how it could be tough to be a Trump supporter. I am surprised, though, is that if I was a Trump supporter, I would like to think that I would have the courage to speak out about why I was a Trump supporter.
Oh, yeah, but they just don't want to have to deal with defending him.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's probably what
Because they
that's what I
almost
did.
feel like there's actually, I think any Trump supporter that I've talked to goes, there is a lot of indefensible things that he does, but I'm still going to vote for him. So it's like, I don't need, like, they're always like, everyone's already made their conclusion. If you hate Trump, you hate Trump. If you like him, you like him. I'm just ready. They're like basically a football team who's practiced too much. They're like, can I just go vote? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit around and talk and debate. Like, they'll obviously snicker and BS with their circles, but they're not here to sit. They don't want to win voters. They're not as like evangelical as like a Bernie supporter is. They feel like it's already done.
Yeah. So
They don't think they could win another Trump supporter in an argument ever.
yeah. So the biggest surprise for a lot of people for 2016 was that 51% of white women voted for Trump, just because of like how often you would see a white woman who's a celebrity or whatever go on TV and go, Trump sucks, he's sexual, whatever. Like you would not, like you're not surprised by a lot of other things. Do you think that number holds in 2020? Does that drop? Does that increase? And why?
I think it holds
Okay.
because I think that individual votes every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a growing base. I just think it's a solid base.
Okay.
but the reason it does not decline at all is primarily because of not Trump, but the Republican Party's support of abortion.
Okay.
And the pro-life movement is huge to moms. Like if you've made your choice on it, it's like so down the line. And I actually don't think, even though Trump was the first person to speak at the pro-life march, I don't really think he gives a shit. I wouldn't be surprised if he's paid for abortions of girlfriends in the past or mistresses of the past.
But what about that part of that 51%? Some of them were Obama voters, and that's where some of the surprise came through. And a part of it was maybe they were like, Hillary seems like whatever, a woman president, whatever, right? And so now that she's not there, Hillary's not there, and she's not the sort of the devil that the Republicans can point to.
Sure.
That's where I look at it and say,
there's not a devil in the race anymore.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to hear any Republican people discussing that Biden is the devil.
Right.
They'll discuss the left is the devil.
Right.
But like they don't really think of him as the leader of the party. Even if you put him as president, they would be like, he doesn't lead the party. The party's led by this younger, influential, articulate base.
Right.
That like is popped out. They're still led by the Bernie voter, really.
Yeah. And so that's why it'll be interesting to see, because I agree with you that there's a lot of the line is going to hold. I don't see a lot of flip-flopping that happened from 2016 to now. That being said, it's interesting to sometimes dissect down different demographics and look at like, so 51% of white women voted for Trump, and that and I think that was specifically college educated white women.
Yeah.
And some of those were actually Obama voters. You look at that, what's the difference between Obama and Hillary? You kind of have to hold that line. And
I don't put that uniqueness necessarily on party lines. I put that uniqueness on Obama. I think Obama was just a really, really good candidate.
Mm-hmm.
I think his inspirational conversation that he created in the country at like this perfect time is he was the perfect guy for the perfect time in this country's history for who he was. Like he was just the guy at the time. And so I think he just got a lot of people highly inspired to vote for him because they believed in him.
Yeah.
And I think he did get some people to vote outside of their party lines because they trusted him as a guy.
Yeah. I mean, at a time, if you look back in 2008, I think a lot of Americans on both sides actually felt very betrayed by Wall Street. They felt very betrayed. I mean, you had the Tea Party, who was that side of it, plus because remember, I think it was the Tea Party that started the movement against the 1%ers, right? Was it the Tea Party?
Yeah.
The Tea Party was highly conservative, and then
it's a deep right wing party.
Yeah.
I like a lot of what the Tea Party stands for. I can't be a Tea Partier though, because they get a little too dicey for me.
Yeah. So I mean, you had a lot of people on both sides had a common enemy. I think they looked at the Bush administration as like failed, both sides, and then they also looked at Wall Street, right? Like you could see middle America. Minority. A lot of people point to Wall Street because they were getting the bailouts. They felt like they caused the problems with the housing market.
Yeah.
And so like there would seem like there was common enemy. And there was, he was the person to come in at the time and make people feel like, you know what? Yeah, there is still hope in America. And I still feel good about being an American. And I still feel like we should be all in this to get out of this. Like, it was the message was bigger than it felt like the problem at the time. And we needed somebody that was inspirational. We needed inspiration to kind of bridge the gap when money couldn't, when resources couldn't.
Well, because and like his first time he was up against McCain, right?
McCain, yeah.
And McCain was just a wartime hero, right?
Yeah.
Like a classic, respected, loved, but also wartime guy.
Yeah.
So like it was this choice of like, are we gonna stick to our guns and just have a classic war guy, which that he was a great guy, but it still was like this era of America that we wanted to get past. And
Well,
then
I mean, but also when you had 8 years of war, I mean, I don't know how many years.
you're sick of it.
Yeah,
you're like,
you're
like we
anybody who was
we
associated
wanted
with
a
war.
different conversation. We wanted this inspirational person to empathetically run around the world and say, we as America have had a conversation with ourselves and we want to be different.
Yeah.
We realize that we've done horrible shit, but that's not who we are as a people. We desire to be a people of good and hope.
Yeah.
And so that was Obama. And then Romney was kind of our Biden if for Republicans, where we just wanted to serve up somebody in the race where we're like, okay, he's been around for a while. He's stayed right enough, but he's kind of center enough to be able to hopefully pull a little bit in. But then he got hit with a binder full of women, and we just we live in a different time where like
that takes you down.
binder full of women's a rap back in the day, and
Right.
now like Trump actually has binders,
Yeah.
pageants. All right, hold up, I gotta grab this real quick. Hey, what's up?
Hey, when do you guys go on today?
We're live right now.
You're live right now. How do I pick it up?
Purple Politics on YouTube.
On YouTube. It didn't come up. I will give it another whirl, though. Okay.
All right.
If it doesn't work, call us back.
Yeah, we can go. I can reset this and go live again if it didn't work. But yeah, if you Purple Politics on YouTube, like and subscribe, and that's how you drop into the show.
Okay. Very good. All right. Godspeed. Talk to you
Love
later.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So yeah, well, hopefully we're live, but if we're not, we're still running through some things.
Yeah.
See that every day. Sometimes the video is right, sometimes the audio is right. We are trying to be able to be more interactive with even jumping in straight onto the press conferences of Trumpy. We're learning slowly here. We're not doing so bad. We're only a week into this.
Yeah. And you know what, one of the things we figured out yesterday is just how much of a burden junk mail is on cost, as conservatives would like to look at when it's a Democratic cost.
True.
We also looked at environmental issues. So I think we figured out an idea that, we're looking to launch, sometime soon,
Yep.
that we can fight from both a private business side and probably introduce some policy down the road.
Yeah, and it's solving a huge environmental issue
Right.
of just absolute waste. It's not only a waste of resources, but it's also as far as environmental resources, which is it's harming the planet, but then it's also a waste of time just to do it. Manpower, energy, people, a huge waste of money.
It's waste. It's only waste. It's junk, waste, cost, both.
And whoever's
financially.
opening the mail,
Yeah.
it's just wasting their time.
Energy, time,
Man, and think of how many lives could be just extended. We basically give America back like days.
You're in line.
So yeah, that's junk mail is a huge issue that is currently hopefully getting resolved by a small team out in LA here.
One thing I read today is so a McDonald's in China put up a sign to ban Africans, of people of African descent in China, from going into these businesses. So now,
Are they this group from Ghana, right?
yeah. So now there's a story that's going around in China that it's the Africans that are spreading the coronavirus. And it's so interesting because I'm like, how is it that it almost feels like it's so human nature to always take a minority group in your country and somehow put the blame on them, when it's like Africans are not the ones that were killing the bat in Wuhan and eating it. Like,
I feel like the Africans not eating the bat at all.
Yeah, I mean, we got goats, we got sheep, we have, I mean, there's cows. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And so, you know, and I think that when you look at it, we're here. You have people that are trying to fight against racism or prejudice against Chinese people here in the United States. And I think I'm speaking on behalf of my African brothers and saying any of my Chinese friends need to start speaking up against China mistreating Africans and saying that they're the ones that are spreading the coronavirus when they're probably
Yeah.
victims of this too.
Well, that's what's the weird part about human nature is we want to pass off the blame.
Right.
And like, it's easy to pass off the blame to a minority group because usually that minority group doesn't have a voice to defend themselves publicly
Right.
in like the airways of the media or within the government. So it's like, if somebody comes to a conclusion of somehow finds some isolated reason to create any level of a sound idea of, okay, this group from Ghana is the reason, then everyone else just goes, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's right. Now we don't have to deal with it anymore.
Right.
And we can just sit around and be like, oh, well, it's obviously
It's them.
it's them.
Yeah. Well, so your dad just wrote that the program is not coming through.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to refresh or
Yeah, we'll refresh. We can go live
see
again.
what he thinks. See it on mine. See if it's coming through.